Okay everyone, so we have another video from Swagkage, and this one is a follow-up to another video that I did where Swagkage analyzed just how powerful part 1 Sasuke is. This one is going to be focusing on part 1 Naruto. So let's go ahead and watch this video and we'll see just how strong part 1 Naruto is. Now anyone who's read this series of course has a good idea as to just how strong he actually is.
Yo, how's it going everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be taking a look at our boy Naruto Uzumaki and analyzing his strength at different points throughout the series. Now anybody who's watched or read the series from front to back knows that this was supposed to be a story about a kid going from zero to hero. Kishimoto's goal was clearly to take Naruto from nothing and make him into this
He was the underdog basically
badass that everybody looked up to and nobody could beat. But what's interesting about this is that Naruto's always been pretty powerful.
Yeah.
This video is mostly just an excuse for me to talk about how cool kid Naruto is, despite...
In fact, if you think about it, that's actually kind of one of the criticisms that a lot of people had. You know, Kishimoto is trying to convey that this is a character who went from, you know, basically being the underdog, the guy who could barely do anything, to being the guy who everyone looked up to and respected because he got that way through just sheer determination and hard work. But when you look at part 1, you realize, you know, this kid is supposed to be like, you know, the underdog, but you realize that he outclasses not just his own classmates, but even some of the adults. And it's like, yeah, you can kind of understand where people are coming from by saying that they have a hard time believing that Naruto was ever an underdog.
Despite the fact that the series doesn't really...
For God's sakes, look at what he did in part 1. He summoned a toad from Mount Myoboku, which is stated to be an ability that even most adults can't do, and yet this guy did it when he was only 12.
Present him as a top tier fighter, and if enough people ask, I'll probably make a second video where I take a look at all of the forms of Naruto from Shippuden and onwards. For the sake of simplicity in this video, I'll be skipping through time between Naruto's major milestones, and I'll define a milestone as any time Naruto added something really major or significant to his arsenal, or any time there was a time skip that implied a large increase in both skill and power. So the first point in time we'll be taking a look at is Naruto as an academy student back when he pretty much couldn't do anything. He was like Rock Lee, but without the Jutsu skill at this point. I mean, the kid didn't have anything in his arsenal. No good ninjutsu,
literally nothing.
No good genjutsu, no good taijutsu. The only technique he was proficient with was the sexy jutsu, which was a variant of the very basic transformation jutsu, and even then, that was the only way he could effectively use it. When he attempted to transform into anything else, he failed. Then
I guess there were some editing problems because the sound effects you're hearing is usually before the picture moves. Usually it's right in sync when, you know, you move on to the next picture, but it seems like there were some problems in the editing room.
Mizuki attempted to take advantage of Naruto's unique blend of inaptitude and ambition by telling him to go and steal the fucking Scroll of Seals, which was a scroll that contained techniques so powerful that Hashirama Senju thought it needed to be stored away somewhere where nobody could get it. Now the context for this
the
is
Shadow Clone Jutsu being one of them.
The series, but later on when you really get to know who Hashirama is and the sort of stuff that he's done before, the sheer magnitude of this sort of sinks in, because like Hashirama is the same guy who took 8 of the 9 Biju and just gave them away to
the other villagers. Like they were nothing.
There was just something about this scroll that he thought was too dangerous to be left in the fucking hands of the public, and Naruto got his hands on it. Now by some miracle he managed to learn one of the forbidden jutsu contained within
it's never really explained how he even managed to get his hands on it. It's like, if you're telling me that this is a scroll that has jutsu that was considered to be too powerful even by Hashirama Senju, you would think that they would have like the most tight security that they could manage, and yet somehow a little 12-year-old prankster managed to get his hands on it. It's like, if that's the case, dude, you seriously need to rework your security if Naruto was able to steal it with literally nobody noticing. It's insane. And I've always wondered, like, what other techniques are in that scroll other than the Shadow Clone Jutsu?
In this scroll in a couple of hours, and that jutsu happened to be one that was perfect for him. It was the multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, a much better version of the standard Shadow Clone Jutsu that allowed its user to create hundreds, if not thousands of clones, provided that they had enough chakra to do so. The reason it was considered
Which is why it was perfect for Naruto, because the guy has a large chakra reserves. Or, excuse me, a large chakra pool.
The 8 trigram sealing style, the Reaper Death Seal, possibly even the Flying Thunder God, and Edo Tensei, is because since Hence, the Shadow Clone Jutsu forces its user to evenly disperse their chakra among the clones they create, creating like 100 or 1,000 of them. I mean, it's killed people before. And this is where we're given the first indication of Naruto's dormant power. If the first Hokage thought this jutsu was too dangerous for widespread use, then there's no way this fucking 11, 12-year-old pre-Genin ninja should be able to pull it off so easily. Further context is provided for this feat later when Kakashi says that Genin shouldn't be able to use fire jutsu because of how much chakra it consumes. But like, what do you think saps more of your energy? Creating a fireball or cloning yourself like 500 times? Now, it's also later explained that one of the reasons why elemental jutsu are so hard to perform is because nature transformation is a thing, and that's something that people have to master. But still, at the time, Kakashi said chakra, so the audience is led to believe that Naruto has a lot of it. Like, a lot of it. He also used this jutsu to kick the shit out of a Chunin with no effort at all. So at this point, episode 1/chapter 1, Naruto has already cemented himself at Chunin level. And this is without even mentioning he didn't seem to draw from the Nine Tails chakra to create this many clones. Now, it's a bit hard to classify what I'm about to discuss as a milestone because Naruto makes use of this ability randomly and without any input of his own. But I want to briefly examine the first few appearances of what many people refer to as KN0 Naruto. This is Naruto in his initial Nine Tails state without the tailed beast cloak, but even then with just a sliver of the Q-Beast chakra, he's able to pull off some pretty crazy shit. Most notably making Haku look like a bitch and punching through his ice mirrors with no effort at all, which is a little bit absurd because even Haku said that it's pretty tough to destroy the ice mirrors even using fucking fire jutsu. And then in the Forest of Death, Naruto used this same
you would
form to
need
kick
like a
around one of
really
Orochimaru's snake
you would have needed a much stronger fire jutsu than the one that Sasuke used. I would imagine, like, let's say Mara had the Majestic Destroyer Flame. I would assume that would be enough. Absolutely, since it is a higher a more advanced fire release jutsu. And then you have there was the one that Sarutobi used in his fight with Orochimaru. I'm forgetting its name. I think it was a Dragon Flame Bomb, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's the one where he fires, he unleashes the fire jutsu, and then he continues, and then it turns like white hot. And it's, I think that's I think that ability would also work against Haku's ice style, and the Amaterasu. I mean, that's just no question. Like, that is still to this day the strongest fire release jutsu in this series.
Summons, and even scared Orochimaru into using the 5-pronged sealing jutsu to keep Naruto from accessing the Nine Tails chakra out of fear that it may become a problem for him at some point in the future. Now, you can attribute most of this to the Nine Tails.
And considering what we saw from the Nine Tails in the future, it's understandable why Orochimaru would think that.
Scared by the idea of going up against a full-power Kyuubi Jinchuriki than it is that he was scared of Kid Naruto. But I still think that this was worth talking about because, like, Naruto did this with the smallest fraction of the Nine Tails chakra possible. You could easily consider both of these feats Jonin level plus, because Zabuza considered Haku stronger than him, and while Orochimaru was scared enough of Naruto's power in this Nine Tails enhanced state to go out of his way to strengthen the seal keeping the Kyuubi inside of him, he didn't even bat an eye at Kakashi, one of the most skilled and famous ninja in the entire world, and somebody you definitely expect to be much more threatening than Naruto is. Now, this isn't to say that Naruto surpassed Kakashi at this point, because he didn't even come close, but I think it's still worth mentioning just because of how impressive it sounds when you apply context to it. The next point in time I want to focus on is the late Chunin exams, when Naruto fought Neji and subsequently Gaara. At this point, he showed that he was both capable of taming the Nine Tails chakra to a certain extent at least, and performing the summoning jutsu, though I'll get into that a bit later. So this Naruto puts both of the others to shame, because first of all, he one-shots Neji. Neji boxed with Rock Lee on a regular basis and consistently went to town on him, but Naruto took him out with one punch. That sort of speaks for itself, but it's not even close to as impressive as what Naruto pulls off in the fight against Gaara, where he severely damages, I might add, a partially transformed Gaara. The same Gaara who survived getting hit by a Chidori, and a Gaara who is presumably much more durable than the Gaara who fought Rock Lee, who he beat, by the way, despite the fact that Lee opened the 3rd gate, the 4th gate, and the 5th gate. Like, you can say this is reaching if you really want to, but no matter how you look at it, that makes Naruto's punches here comparable to those of 3rd and 4th Gate Rock Lee. Naruto also creates 2,000 shadow clones in this fight, and still somehow has enough chakra left over to summon fucking Gamma Bunta. He then goes on to fight an actual tailed beast and wins, then successfully talk no Jutsu's Gaara into becoming a good guy.
Which
now,
we didn't even know.
What Naruto did in
the thing is, the only thing I will say about this is, I don't know if Kishimoto already had it planned that, you know, Shukaku and Kurama were tailed beasts and that they were all part of the 10 tails. I don't know if this was something he figured out before he even officially started writing the story, or if it was something that he added later on into the story after all of this was over, because I'm starting to wonder if maybe at first Kurama and Shukaku were just supposed to be demons that were, you know, sealed inside of two people, like Kurama inside Naruto, Shukaku inside Gaara. Because if he always had it planned that Shukaku and Kurama would just be two of the 9-tailed beasts, then Naruto being able to take on Kurama is way more, like, it makes him way more impressive than it sounds. And also, you do got to remember, Shukaku was probably not as strong as he could have been, because normally it's stated that Jinchuriki are supposed to be, you know, stronger than even the tail beasts themselves, and Shukaku was the one in control. So don't get me wrong, Shukaku was strong, but if it was Shukaku with Gaara completely in control of his power, then I'm skeptical as to whether or not Naruto would have won. You know what I mean? It's like, don't get me wrong, what Naruto does here is still insanely impressive. Like, again, summoning Gamma Bunta alone is, like, again, I said it earlier in the video, it's an ability that even most adults around the world can't even do, and it's like this little 12-year-old kid is just doing it. It's insane.
Actual tailed beast and wins, then successfully talk no Jutsu's Gaara into becoming a good guy. Now, when I said that what Naruto did in the Forest of Death and on the Great Naruto Bridge in KN0 was Jonin level plus, that may have been reaching just a little bit, but I don't think anybody's gonna get too upset if I say that this shit borders on Kage level. And keep in mind, this is in like the second arc of the series, maybe the third if you consider the first half of the Chunin exam a different arc than the second. Then after this, in the arc immediately following this one, Naruto learns how to perform the Rasengan, a jutsu known only to Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Minato, a Jonin, one of the Sannin, and the 4th Hokage. I'd also like to point out that all 3 of these people either were Hokage or were candidates for Hokage, so if you want to say that managing to perform the Rasengan is a Kage level feat, feel free to. I'm not gonna stop you. He then uses the Rasengan.
I don't think so. It is an A-class jutsu, but I wouldn't say it's Kage level.
Effortlessly dealing with Tsunade, who happened to become the 5th Hokage practically the day after this fight happened. And I mean, even if you don't want to consider that Kage level, Naruto still dealt with a Jonin with little difficulty. So I mean, view it however you want to, it's still pretty fucking impressive. Now, surprisingly, in the Sasuke retrieval arc, Naruto doesn't do anything nearly as impressive as anything I've talked about up to this point. Like, he pulls off some pretty insane stuff during his fight with Sasuke, but most of it is stuff we've already seen before, up until the point he enters the one-tailed cloak state for the first time. We don't get to see what he's capable of in it for very long, but anyway, I think the most impressive feat he has in this arc is surviving getting hit by a Chidori at point blank, and then just getting up and acting like nothing happened. Sasuke even claims that this Chidori should have either taken out Naruto's lung completely or punctured a hole in it. So not only did he regenerate that massive hole in his shoulder, he also healed critical damage to one of his vital organs. The anime version of the fight has him doing some shit that's pretty nutty, like creating this massive ladder of clones and using it to slam Sasuke into a mountainside. But in the manga, his feats aren't quite as ridiculous, and the only noteworthy thing that really happens is him regenerating, like I just mentioned.
Yeah, the anime does do this. They'll add to certain fights, like they did it to this fight right here, Naruto against Sasuke. They did it to the Sasuke versus Orochimaru fight, and if I remember correctly, they also did it to the 3rd Hokage versus Orochimaru fight. Like they'll do this. They will make it look better in the anime. I feel like they kind of have to, because it is an anime, and it's like people kind of expect it to be better. Not that it's bad in the manga, it's good, but like anime just have, or an animated project just has different expectations, especially when it comes to fight scenes, or especially high paced fight scenes, or not high paced, quick paced fight scenes. Sorry about that.
So then, that covers everything that took place during part 1, but before I go, let me just briefly recap everything that I've mentioned in the video so far, and touch on a few things that I might not have gotten to yet, just to make sure that the sort of stuff Naruto was pulling off right from the beginning really sinks in for all of you. He masters a Jonin plus level Forbidden Jutsu, assists in the takedown of a Jonin and his Jonin tier comrade, makes it to the final rounds of the Chunin exams, goes undefeated.
Well, that was, let's face it, most of that was just sheer luck.
In a series of one-on-one battles against Kiba,
Especially
and
this.
the prodigy of the Hyuga clan himself, Neji, defeats a tailed beast in one-on-one combat, one-shots Kabuto. He also masters 2 Jonin Takage level jutsu, and of course there's all of the shenanigans in the Sasuke retrieval arc, like spamming shadow clones and Rasengan. Like,
This was really, I love this panel. It's so well drawn. Again, I wish the current Boruto manga would have panels like this where Ikimoto would just let his artistic abilities flow, as opposed to just, you know, sort of sticking to a certain style, which is that, like, this is one thing that Kishimoto kind of always did in the in his manga when he was, you know, drawing it all the way through, is sometimes he'll have panels like this where it looks absolutely amazing. And this is something that I would actually have on my wall. This isn't something I'm okay with it just being on a comic. Like, I would actually print this and have it on my wall. You know, just let me see if I can find a way to remove this, and, you know, all the text. Well, I would keep this. This is cool. But yeah, I would remove this, maybe this this text right here, and this, and just have this on the walls, because on my wall, because just it's so fucking beautiful.
Generating a punctured lung and all that other juicy stuff. Anyway, that's gonna be all from me. Thanks as always for watching the video all the way to the end. Leave any thoughts, questions, or just general comments in the comment section below. Make sure to let me know if you want a follow-up video about all of the later versions of Naruto. And until my next video, I'll talk to you later. Swagkage out. Bye.
I think that's the video. Okay, so yeah, I mean, look, he made it very clear. Like, Naruto in part 1 is just, he's just incredibly overpowered. Like, I don't think there's any other way to say it. It's like, look at everything that he did: the multi-shadow clone jutsu, summoning a toad from Amiyaboku, learning the Rasengan, and in part 1, like, how powerful he was with the just the one-tailed cloak. I mean, he became much more powerful with just a sliver of the Nine-Tails' chakra. I mean, when it comes to the one-tailed cloak, he would have had access to a lot more of it, so it would have vastly increased his power. And it's just, yeah, I feel like part 1 Naruto probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, if you have a video you want me to watch, just let me know about it in the comment section down below. Consider leaving a like, sharing this video, subscribe to help me get to 1,000, hit the bell for notifications to know whenever I post a new video. Not just reactions, but I do post other kinds of videos on this channel when I can. And consider checking out the description for links to this video, as well as links to Swag's channel, which you should definitely go subscribe to. And there are other links that you can find there, which you can check out at whenever you want. No rush. Anyway, I think that's it. And yeah, I'll see you for my next reaction. Bye for now.